Trading cricket, racing and football, you're listening to the Sports Trader podcast, brought to you by thesportstrader.com.
Welcome to the Sports Trader Football Podcast. Today's guest is Nick Haynes from Football Formlabs, and he's going to be taking us through the Football Formlabs software and showing us how the team there would look at tonight's match between Leicester and Sheffield United. So, good afternoon, Nick. What are you going to be running us through today in Formlabs?
Good afternoon, guys. I'm going to be taking you through the Football Formlabs database, and we're going to be looking at the Leicester Sheffield United game. So if you can see my screen here, we will head over to the Leicester Sheffield United game. These filters up here in the top right have leagues from probably around 80 plus different leagues you can choose from, and the main countries will have up to 5 different leagues in them. Obviously here you can only see 2 because of the whole current situation. Not all the leagues are playing out. So yeah, this looks pretty daunting at first sight, but these are all here to actually help you and try and see if you can find an angle in each game. So for this Leicester Sheffield United game, you can see there's 5 points between them. They're both in the running. They still got a possibility to try and get Champions League football. And so they're both going to be putting full teams out that they have. These indicators here are mainly to give people an idea. If you don't know too much about the league, or if you want to just overlook all the games, then it can give you an idea of how each team ranks in comparison to the rest of the league. So this would be Leicester's this colour. This would be Leicester at home against top half teams. Have gone 1-5, drawn 2, lost 3, and that ranks as 7th compared to the rest of the league. But we won't go into too much of that today. We're going to be more game specific. Leicester, Sheffield United. We'll come down here to the game notes. That can always help you. Leicester have drawn the first half in 6 of their last 8 home matches against top half teams, while Sheffield United have seen under 2.5 goals in 12 of the last 15 away matches. So that's already, and Sheffield United have drawn 9 of the last 17 away matches. That's already giving you ideas of what you can kind of look at. Then these match indicators can also help you to coming up with betting ideas. So halftime score 0-0, under 2.5 match goals versus middle third teams. So yeah, we shall head into our first port of call is to go to a pre-match query after we've selected Leicester Sheffield United from up there. I will always go first. The 5 things I mainly want to look at, I'd look at their form, specific home and away form, then look at how they've done against certain opposition types. I'd also have a little look at their head-to-heads against one another. And finally, you want to be looking at if there's any key injuries or any returning players that might have an impact in the game. And most importantly is we always want to compare this to the price, because it's very good trying to find a strong stat to back up a team. But if the bookmakers already assess the price to counteract that, then there's just no point betting on it, because then there's no value in it. So we will head in here. Number 1, we're going to be looking at how their recent form is. So I'm going to go this season, Leicester all, Sheffield United all. The rest of these boxes, that is just the top part of this is all Leicester up here. That is, you can filter it, so how Leicester have performed when they're in the top 6 against the teams. This is, you can see how Leicester have performed against certain opposition types. This is, you can filter it, so if based on their Leicester's form. Also, an important thing to look at here is just before you're going to click this season for the current form, just to make sure that the manager's actually been there and there's no recent manager changes. This can always change motivation and have an effect on the price. But yeah, I'll go this season, Leicester all, and then for Sheffield United, I'm going this season, Sheffield United all. Obviously, both their managers have been there all season. And I'm going to generate that. So that will then go into a query output. So we'll go have a quick look at Betfair here. Wait for that to load. We can see Leicester 19 to 20 at home. They've probably only been that long a price about a handful of times, and that would be against your Cities, your Liverpools, your Chelseas, and the top teams. Likewise of Sheffield United, I doubt they've been over a 3-1 too many times away this season. Maybe at the start. So yeah, it's just important to relate that to the price. We'll then go back in. Recent form here, we can see that Leicester, whereas the first game back was game week 29 from the COVID break, we can see they've only won two of 7, which isn't great. And both those wins, Palace were completely out of form, and Aston Villa down in the dumps. Quite an easy fixture list. They haven't come away with too many points. Sheffield United, we suddenly see this resurgence from them. 3 of their last 4, Chelsea, Wolves, and Spurs, all fairly big teams, top half teams. That's good form. But the caveat is that the one away game. Of course, it was against Burnley, who are a respectable team, but that one away game was their only draw in that run. So then we'll go back here. Now it's just Leicester home, just Sheffield United away. I will generate that. Here we can see Sheffield United this season won 1 of their last 8. Certainly a trend of theirs before that Liverpool and City defeats down here was they were actually incredibly hard to beat away and always low-scoring games. If we click into match goals here, under 2.5 goals in 76% of their games, which is incredibly low. But yeah, defeats to City, Liverpool, Newcastle, Man United. That Newcastle defeat, John Egan, I'm pretty certain, it was John Egan. They were 0-0 at half-time. John Egan got a red card and they went on to lose 3-0. So we can almost forgive them for that. And United, they're on incredible form. So they've got 3 defeats against 3 of the best teams, you could say, based on form and quality. Makes you struggle to think that Leicester are capable of getting over the line against them. If we click on Leicester goals, they've had over 2.5 goals in 65% of their games. We're now looking at the unders of Sheffield and the overs of Leicester as kind of contradicting each other. You'd probably want a bigger price for the overs if you were going to go for it. The main trend, as somebody who uses this every day, I'm looking here, I'm like, especially if we go back to the match data, it gave us the idea here, half-time score 0-0, under goals. We quickly go back to our query outputs. All games. This is all venues, home and away, just this season. We can see Leicester have scored 2 first half goals from their last 11, coming against Aston Villa and Bournemouth, while Sheffield United have had 5 blanks from their last 7 goals for themselves. If we filter that to away, they haven't scored a first half goal for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. Leicester haven't scored 1 first half goal in their last 5. With lots of nil.
Sheffield United, Nick, have been really solid defensively, haven't they? They've been one of the better sides.
Definitely.
Recently, their defence has just been rock solid. So if Leicester has had trouble scoring, they're not going to find it any easier against this opposition.
Yeah. 100%. And so if we want to go into a half-time market, you could be looking at the under 0.5 goals, 17 to 10, or we could scroll down a little bit here. The 0-0, 17 to 10. Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? That could be quite an appealing bet for us. But we will move on to the third point from what I said on my 5 list is the form against opposition type. So we'll just go into pre-match query here. Still want this season, and I'm going to go Leicester or Sheffield United all, so that's both home and away. We're not too fussed on where the team that we're talking about has been in the league. We're more interested in what their opposition has been. So I'm going to go Leicester against top half teams, because if we quick look at the table, the top half, Burnley upwards, you can kind of include them in a bracket. Obviously, you have your Liverpool and City who have taken clear of the rest, but that's a good bracket of teams against opposition type, which is quite an accurate representation for both of them. I'm going to go top half, all generate that. Right, straight away again, I'm looking at this half time here. No, didn't score. Conceded one against Liverpool.
Just one goal in their last 8 there in the half time.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, in all of those
even if you
games,
go down here, yeah.
in the 13, they've only scored 3 first half goals in 13 matches.
Yeah, half-time scoring, and these filters can help you. It's only 3. Yeah, 3 out of the 13 right there. Then Sheffield United, yes, you have these wins, but what we're more interested in, again, they didn't score.
6 out of their 14.
Yeah, and then we want to also just look at the away. All their last 5, they haven't scored. I'm quite liking the look of this half-time bet, which to many, it might be a bit of a boring bet because you're going 0-0 half-time, but we're looking for the value here, so that's what we're going to concentrate on. And then the last quick thing, I'm just going to quickly go in. You want to have some head-to-heads, and I'm going to go all seasons, but obviously Sheffield United have only just been promoted, so in this case, we would almost just ignore it. But Leicester did win away.
Scoring a first half goal as well.
Yeah. But I'm almost inclined to ignore it, because if we then look at the next point, we want to see which players have been missing and will be missing. For Premier League, I generally tend to use the physio room, gives the most accurate data, but then also Twitter and just general searching around the internet can help. I will go into Leicester. That's ringing big alarm bells for us, because James Maddison, key creator, Ben Chilwell, solid left back, been playing all season. Albrighton, more of a squad player. Soyuncu is probably, if not one of their most key players. Centre back is the first of his 3-match ban, and Pereira, the right back. So the defence has taken a bit of a hammering, which does make you sit back a bit and go, okay, is this really that worthy of a game to get stuck into, or is it so depleted that it might be worth getting behind Sheffield United? But that's where our players tool comes into handy. So in the period here, we can choose the time period you want to have it in and be analysing. This is also, it goes for all these nations, and we go down to League 2 in England, and you can select the team. Venue, you can have all home and away. I'll go to all their players, squad or first team. I generally tend to select when they've started, because it's not as accurate. If they're coming on for a last 20-minute cameo, they're not really going to have that big an impact on the game. And that I normally just set that at 1. I mean, on the very off chance it might have a game where somebody started and come off in 5 minutes, but it's very unlikely. And you can also do it based on positions. So you could pick, if there was 2 centre backs missing, which I think a good example last season I remember was James Tompkins and Sacco were a combination at the back for Palace. Just every time they were missing, they just kept losing, and they were so much better with them. But I'm going to stick to just single players for this example. And we're going to go last 35 games this season, Leicester, and we're going to generate that. So this is giving us the win percentage for when they've started. Win, draw, loss, points per game, and the PVT is the win percentage difference of when they've started to when they haven't. So the more positive this is, supposedly the bigger impact that player has in positive sense. And we can see here, Ricardo Pereira, he's not just gone out, he's been injured for a little bit, but if we click into him, every game he's missed, they've beaten Palace and West Ham. Their home games, in fact, for Leicester, because we're mainly concentrating on their home form. That home form for Leicester against Sheffield United's away form, only Liverpool, Man City have been able to beat them at home with Southampton. But that Southampton game, that's Wilfred Ndidi was out for that. And I would say he is their number one man. But obviously, they've got quite a few key players missing at the moment. So they're not just going to blow over, likewise with Sheffield United, as I was saying earlier. Those 4 defeats, 3 of them was against the best teams. It's likely to be pretty nail-biting encounter, probably low-ish scoring because both teams are quite eager, don't want to concede, and there's so much on the line with the Champions League and Europa League football. So yeah, we can see points per game. They're 1.79 points per game within the season compared to the 7 that he hasn't started. They're just 1.29. But you got to take it with a slight pinch of salt because those teams they've played without him have been pretty poor. So, well, you'd almost expect them to be more points. So that's a bit of a worry. James Maddison, points per game. That's only been slightly better with him. This is when not all these player analysis is going to throw up a huge difference, but you do get some that do. In this case, such a small sample, you got to kind of assume that they're going to be worse without him because he is that.
I have looked at a few of the sides, and I was looking at Tottenham for their game the other night, and it was interesting that Tottenham seem to win a higher percentage of games when Harry Kane's not playing, yet you just can't imagine leaving him out.
That's why you can sometimes, you've got to look into who the teams have been when he hasn't been playing. But then there definitely was an angle of that last season when he was injured and Son was allowed to elaborate a bit more.
They went on an unbelievable run. They were unbeatable. And then as soon as they brought Harry Kane back into the side, their form dropped off. Yeah. If you look at this player, what you're looking at here, the player logic, if you look at Son for Tottenham, he's phenomenal for them. His win rate when he's in the team compared to when he isn't, he is the key player, not Harry Kane. Because I think what happens when Harry Kane's playing is all the focus of the opposition seems to be on him, and that lets Son run free and do what he wants. And yet, and
I think it's partly they have to try and change their game style a bit.
Of course, when Harry Kane's not in the side, you've now got Son, Dele Alli, Lamela, Sissoko as points of attack, and the opposition are not sure where they're going to focus. But when Kane's in the team, they focus on getting the ball to Kane, and so that's easier to defend. And so Tottenham have a much better win rate when Kane's not actually in the team. It's just really interesting what you can pull out of what you're looking at here.
My favourite example, if you go to Wilfred Zaha.
Palace just don't seem to be able to win without him.
Yeah, but it's just, I know that one's kind of a common knowledge, but I just like to look at it. But yeah, as you said, that's kind of, you wouldn't expect that to be the case with Tottenham, but that's what this tool can kind of throw up for you.
And it was interesting going back to Liverpool. They had a better win rate when Steven Gerrard didn't play than when he did. And people just wouldn't believe that if you told them. They'd think, well, he was the heart and soul of the team. But no, when Gerrard was out of the team, Liverpool had a better win rate.
Yeah.
Now he's gone, they win the league comfortably.
Yeah.
It's no coincidence.
No, definitely. Well, I guess because everything runs through him, he's targeted the whole time, and that can be a factor.
It can inhibit teams, same as we just mentioned on Harry Kane, because the whole thing focuses on him. That's where the defence concentrate their defence. So anyway, show us what you've got here on Zaha.
Yeah, Wilfred Zaha. That is lost to nil in 2017-18 season. Nearly every game he missed.
So these are all games that he's missed that you've put up here?
On the right here, this is when he hasn't started for Palace. On the left is when he has, but you can't really compare it because this is the 2019-20 season. He's only missed one game this season.
Yeah.
So if we go down to 17-18.
That's a huge loss rate over there.
They've been winning when he's been there.
Yeah.
That's the 2017-18. We go to 2017-18 here. Lost.
They just couldn't win without him.
Yeah, it was impossible. Well,
do you think that holds? Does that hold for now, this season?
I think it has. Well, you can see they've beat
on the left there. They've lost 5 in a
row. Well, yeah, that 5 in a row is since the return of the COVID break, and they've just completely lost motivation. So
there's nothing to play for, is there?
Yeah, so you can't look into that.
Can't really rule it out.
He's only missed one game this season.
We'll flick back to the Leicester game tonight. Let's see if we can come up with any bets from your 5 points.
And then the last quick point was Soyuncu was out because of his red card, but he's only missed one game this season. He might be their key defender, but he's only missed one game this season, so we wouldn't look into that too much. And so I think it comes back to the point we made earlier, half-time. This half-time result in Betfair, it could be the best way to go about it, I think, would be just to back the 0-0 draw, half-time score. But because of those injuries for Leicester, I would only go half a point in on this game. Just because of that slight uncertainty, Soyuncu, they might just go and get blown away by Sheffield United without them, have no leadership at the back. That would probably be my half a point on them. And you could have a little 0.25 points.
What do you think of the market there, Nick, on the half with the most goals? The second half looked an interesting
price. That's half of the most goals. I really like the look of that.
So 6-5 for that, because we're thinking it's going to be a bit of a cagey start. And if we do get even one goal late in the first half, it's going to make the second half.
Have two, I really like that bet. That's a good point.
That would be a possible.
In fact, I'd even, to the extent of, I'd expect that to be odds on. I'd probably have, half a point on the 0.
I guess the price is factored in, Nick, that it's possible that if Sheffield United were to take a 1-0 lead in the first half, that it would be very difficult for Leicester to get back into the game. Yeah. They might just park the bus and sit on that. That's probably why you're getting a better price. But I would say if that was the case, Leicester would attack viciously in the second half to try and get that and open up the game. So I still think it's a good bet either way you look at it.
I'd even go to the extent of, I'd say Leicester are probably more likely to get the first goal of a game, in which case that would definitely open up the game anyway, because Sheffield United would then have to attack, and that would probably favour Leicester.
If you're looking at the two defences, you'd have to say at the moment Sheffield United have the best defence.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It could make a case that Leicester might not get the first goal. But if you've got Vardy up front, the way that they've had him breaking from the halfway line at speed, you can't catch him. So they'll have to be aware of that. They'll probably leave 2.
And Perez at the King Power.
They'll probably leave 2 on the halfway line with him just because of that. They're not going to leave him 1-1. But anyway, you carry on. What are you looking at?
Sorry, I was just saying Perez at the King Power.
Yep,
he's the danger man, I think. So they can get them on the break, and I would have half a point on the 0-0, and I'd have a half a point on the second half of the most goals. I really like that. So as we were saying before, all of our database, there's the Formlabs Max version and the Formlabs Black version. Formlabs Max, the pre-match data queries, just to assess that, as well as our forum we have here. go into the forum.
Just while you're looking that up, Nick, I've got a question for you. A few people have seen some snippets of the email that I get from Formlabs every Friday. Is that available to anybody just to join your email list, or do you have to have Formlabs to get on that?
What, the Weekender?
Yep.
Yeah, I can send you a link of that.
Can anybody join that, Nick? Or
anybody? That's free. Yeah, that's completely free. Gives you a little taster for what we can offer.
Yeah, a lot of people would like that, I think. So we'll get them to sign up to that to see what Formlabs can offer.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that goes out every Friday. Generally tends to have 2 of the big games from the weekend and some other interesting stats in there. Sometimes some key missing players. We quite like that angle, using that player widget.
Yeah, and it's not all about the Premier League either. You put championship stuff in there, you put stuff from Germany, you sometimes look at Spain. So you do other leagues from your interest. So it's well worth being on that list.
We'll definitely have the championship playoffs in there. And yeah, any of the last big European matches, especially Champions League, etc. So yeah.
One of the most common questions I get, Nick, is what's the difference between the Formlab Black and the Formlab Max?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. So the Formlab Max just gets you the basic pre-match queries, the query outputs, and none of the player analysis or none of the live logic.
That's why I like Black, because of the live logic and the player analysis. That for me makes the difference.
With the live logic, we'll be doing another webinar next Wednesday, aren't we? So
yep, we're going to cover the championship games next Wednesday night, and we're going to do that live. So you will all be able to come in and have a listen to that, and we'll send you out the link so that you can come and join us. Nick will be along again, and we're going to look at 4 or 5 games consecutively. And as the goals are going in, we'll have a look at what Live Logic throws up.
Look at the price movement.
Strategies come up in play. So really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and then the Black just has all the products. But yeah, give
us a very quick look at the strategies tab there, Nick. What's in that?
Yeah, so if I go in here, everyone, Max and Black, all get access to this forum.
This forum, yep.
Our strategies are now in this forum as well.
Okay.
That gives you our match recommendations, which has an algorithm that we had, which has been back tested to give us it. Basically, we run off a spreadsheet, gives us a short list of games, and then we analyze them using the database, and that's turned over a consistent profit of around just over 5% down the years annually. We then, so we'll put every Premier League game that's happening, we'll write.
So guys, you can see there that they had the Bundesliga in there, they've got La Liga in there, they had the Premier League. So you've got a load of other stuff there, other league and cup predictions, international, championship,
any major
Serie A's in there. So it's really worth going in there and having a bit of a...
And as you mentioned as well, our strategy pieces are probably our token pieces. Just gives you, because we collect all this data and all the prices as well, we can then go in and analyze how the effect of a new manager might have. How this is a recent one I just did of how a break, mid-season break, whether that be international break or the recent, I was trying to relate it to the recent COVID break, might have an effect on results. And basically it came up with, you want to back Premier League and Bundesliga top 4 teams and their first came back after a mid-season break. And there's also more goals seen in the Premier League and Bundesliga. But that's not just goals, that's comparing it to the prices, and you'd actually turn over a profit as you backed it.
Right.
So there's a whole load of interesting strategy pieces you can dive into there. And you'd have access to all of this, whether you're on Max or Black, but Black does get you all the products. And we are still with Tony's promotional code, you get 30% off Black and 20% off Max using Sports Trader, either all lowercase or capitals, whatever you like, but just Sports Trader.
Brilliant. So, guys, just use the code SportsTrader and you can get the 30% off the black and 20% off the max. Now, it might be a bit daunting when you first go and have a look at what the cost of this is, but once you take off that discount, it ends up around, for black, £200 for a year. And it sounds a lot of money, but when you break it down over 365 days, it's around 75, 80p a day. And this, you can make your money back with this in a couple of weeks, which, most of us have done since we've come back from COVID. It's just so worth having. There's so much more in here than just going to a free stats site and getting stats of the game, which of course you can do. But if you just look along the top there, you've got the forum, you've got the game notes, match data, pre-match queries, in-play queries, player, live logic, strategies, everything's there. Plus, you can just email these guys, and if you've got any questions, they will help. Now, I believe, Nick, you've also put out some other videos on how to use Formlabs, but I know how to use it, so I've not seen them. But where are they available?
Go into Football Formlabs on YouTube.
Okay.
There's videos all over there.
So there's some more stuff there. But, of course, you can just email me, and if you've got any questions on how to use it or any questions at all. But we use it a lot. So most of the webinars I do on football, we will be using this.
But
all right, Nick,
feel free, if you have any questions, anyone, support@footballformlabs.com.
Brilliant.
Fire them away and I can answer anything you need.
All right, mate. That's fantastic. We'll wrap it up with a final recap on our bets for the game. So we're going to be looking at the 0-0 half time.
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking at second half most goals.
0-0 half time.
That will happen.
13-8. And second half goals we have.
But there's so many options that you can look at. You could also look at doing in the draw Leicester and the draw Sheffield United market as well. There'll be value in there. So there's hundreds of ways you can take the analysis and place your own bets getting the same outcome. But we're going to go with the 0-0 half time and the second most goals in the second half.
Yeah. So, basically most likely to be a bit of a boring game, but also a vital game for both teams.
Well, it's not all going to be 5-4 games, Nick. That's not what it's about. Yeah. Football is football, and there are games that are cagey and tactical, and this might be one of them. They've both got a bit to play for. They're both going for great finishes to their season.
Well, I think another factor as well is City's recent ban list just puts that much more on Leicester to actually sort them out, get a fucking bloody result.
It's going to be a very interesting end to the season. So, look, mate, I'd like to thank you very much for your time today, taking us through Football Formlabs. I'm really looking forward to next Wednesday night and having you back on to do the championship games live. I'm not sure how many there is, but I think they're playing basically a full round. There'll be 4 or 5 different games there.
Full round again. I think it might even be 10. 10 as well.
10 games at once. And what we'll be doing in that one is just using the live logic to try and find us some on-the-spot stats that might be worth having a bet. So feel free to join us then. We'll send you out the links and the times, but I presume we'll be starting around 7:15. If there's 7:30 games, we'll go for that. But we'll get back to you and post you out all the information for that. So thanks again, Nick. I look forward to talking to you next week. And
look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks very much. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.